Welcome to Deucecast Extra. As promised, it's happening. We are live the day after an episode of television airs. It's something that we've never tried before. It's
Let's do it.
I'm really amazed. I'm really amazed that we're pulling this off. We're trying to be relevant in a sea of irrelevance. Come to us for relevance. That's all I'm trying to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, this means that Mikey didn't believe in us.
I know.
His expectations were so low.
Right. Brian's here. Brian is hanging out in the chat. I really appreciate it. The loyalty when I know there's 15 other shows that are live on YouTube right now. Brian, you came to us, and I really appreciate it. We're, of course, here.
You came to the right spot.
You did. You came to the right spot. We're of course here to talk about Star Wars, the Acolyte episodes 1 and 2. It's always a momentous occasion when new Star Wars is on Disney Plus. But first, we're not going to, just because we're here the day after an episode, we're not going to break tradition. We're still going to go around the horn here as our introduction and just say, Rhett, how did you extra this week? What one media item, book, TV, movie, maybe you're writing a personal essay of some type? I mean, what did you want to mention as your extra?
No, I've caught up on the Energon universe comics.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Void Rivals, Transformers, G.I. Joe.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, I caught up with those. I'd fallen behind my piracy site that I used to read comics for free had gotten pulled, had gone down, and I had to find another one. I'm not paying for this.
Comics online.
You didn't have to say that, but
well, so that's what got me behind. But now I caught up the other day. So yeah, it's solid. You know, it's Kirkman's Skybound Entertainment. It's Robert Kirkman's writing Bibles. You know, it's really gory and violent. Like it's much more violent on the G.I. Joe side than I grew up on the Larry Hama Marvel run for a Real American Hero, and it's much more gory and violent than that. The characterization, of course, very different, but it's not bad. I mean, I like the integrated universe where G.I. Joe exists and Cobra really exists because of the Transformers, because they have come to Earth, and this is so much of this is a response to that also. So it ties it all together. And then Void Rivals is a new property. It can be read as a standalone story, but it also crosses over with Transformers and some of these other things. So it's been a good series so far.
Do you think that they're going to pull from any of Kirkman's stories for the Chris Hemsworth movie, the Transformers G.I. Joe crossover movie? Probably not.
No,
they should.
Maybe they might, but I don't. I mean, I don't think so. Then they'd have to pay him.
He's fairly new at this, right? Into this world, is he fairly
Kirkman.
new writing for them?
Who?
Kirkman. Is he?
He's been writing comic books for a long time, Earl. He wrote.
No. I meant for Transformers. Yeah, I know that. But
this is his first foray into. I mean, Skybound he just got the license a couple of years ago or whatever, a year or two ago, and so this is his first writing into
Earl,
that world.
A little comic called The Walking Dead. No,
I know you don't. I know.
I know.
Earl's the only one that actually legally buys comics. That's
I'm still doing this.
No, I'm propping up a dead industry just because I like Transformers.
Harrison, I wasn't. You don't have to show us. I wasn't calling you out.
Get out of my face. Get out of my face.
Okay, all right.
By the way, no other show talking about the Acolyte at this time will have a roving reporter like young Garrison, running from place to place.
Reporter.
Yeah, well, a lot of those guys are so heavy they're not ambulatory though. So
we keep our show light and nimble.
That's right. We try to be. We're quick. We're quick
I like
over
to keep
here.
you on your toes here.
I like it.
Exactly.
I like it. Garrison's on
Dr.
the move.
Earl, how did you extra this week, my friend?
Well, me and Rhett sort of extraed down to the local Iron City Comic-Con.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we sure did.
And I was able to meet. There's a guy who was an artist for one of the comics that I read when I was younger in the early '80s was Micronauts. And this guy kind of came on the scene about that time, Michael Golden. So I got to meet him. I got his signature.
Nice.
He also did Star Wars run. He did a comic book called The Nam. So he's a pretty nice guy, and I met
He's there trying to make a living, man.
The editor of the She-Hulk run. And so that was kind of interesting.
Wow. They had some
for the comic that was they had some interesting things. So I don't know. I guess that was how I extra did a little. And then of course me and Rhett went to a panel with some we're here to talk about Star Wars, but there were some Star Wars
Star Trek
Elite. I'm sorry, Star Trek Elite.
Kind of ticked off about that because they did not advertise that on their website.
They didn't do it well,
and
did they?
I really am kicking myself for not Frakes and what was the
Jonathan
other guy's
Frakes, John Delancey, and
Delancey.
Yeah, Delancey was there.
Yeah,
Delancey had a great story about Thornbirds, which was lost on that whole nerd crowd.
Yeah.
When he talked about Thornbirds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he has a lot. Yeah, there's a whole thing.
He's an accomplished actor. He does more than just Star Trek, like Frakes,
He's one of those accomplished actors that wants to let you know that he's an accomplished actor.
Yeah, but he was relatable and delightful as he could be. But I'll tell you that Todd Stashwick is like one of us. Like he's just
awesome.
happy to be here. Somebody asked Stashwick, said, when you were 9 years old, if somebody had told you were going to be a Star Trek captain one day, what would you have said? He said, yeah, great, that tracks. He said when he was 9 years old, that's what he wanted to be, was a Star Trek captain. So he was great. He was really like one of us.
So Stashwick was on RFR doing an interview with those guys, and he is really funny. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah, he was funny. Yeah,
because he's a Chicago guy, and so he really related to a lot of stuff that Jimmy Mack was saying, because Jimmy Mack's also Chicago. So Stashwick was a guy that I should have just gone with you guys. I don't know what the crap is wrong with me.
No idea why.
The last one we went to was pretty lame, and it had no panels.
Well, but it was different though. It was Alabama Comic.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be.
So it's a different organization altogether. But anyways,
let's go to Garrison. Let's go to Garrison.
Yeah. Garrison, how did you extra this week? We'll get to the Acolyte, I promise, but we're not going to break tradition. So how did you extra this week?
Arigato, Maiko Nipu.
Gesundheit.
Yeah.
I extraed by finishing Shogun.
You binged it that quickly? Holy cow, dude.
Oh,
it's good, isn't it?
Dude, it is so good, is it not?
It's one of the most brilliant.
I thought you were doing your Soul from Acolyte impression there for a second.
I think he was trying to. You were speaking Japanese, weren't you?
Yeah. He was. Yeah, it was arigato.
Is that different?
Yeah. Arigato.
It's different.
Michael, don't say no.
Oh my gosh. Go ahead. Jackson.
But it's really interesting because I didn't really know what to expect going into the show. I've never read the book.
Right.
I've never seen the book, but looking it up now, it's like a 1,300-page book, and I kind of really want to get it and tackle it. I mean, I really want to.
I kind of want to read it too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating story, and there's really not a ton of action. I mean, the action is good. The action is yes.
It's all political intrigue.
It is, it's all very much political
but it's so well written and fascinating. I mean, it kind of reminds me, and I know a lot of people have compared it to that, but it kind of reminds me of some of the politicking you see in some of the great dramas, like Game of Thrones in the early 2010s.
Phantom Menace.
Especially.
No offense to anyone out there. This is a Star Wars podcast.
Look,
Chancellor Valorum.
I have a complicated history with Phantom Menace, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But Shogun is kind of it's what I want television to be, though. I mean, it's the talkie, it's the long scenes where you're having character development, and it's not these gigantic action. A lot of people want to make TV shows that are long movies nowadays, and that can be good. It can work. But I really, really like what they went for with Shogun. I greatly enjoyed it, and I know that there's no source material for season 2, or a potential season 3, but I will be sat down to
Oh yeah, they're gonna do it. Who cares if there's no material? I mean, there's kind of like a book but they're not doing that. They're just gonna continue with the short. Sorry.
Yeah, Nick.
Let's see. Hang on.
I locked in.
Started Shogun in 10 minutes, and I realized I actually have to watch. Yeah, exactly. No, you're right about that.
I put my phone on the charger across the room, and I sat there.
Yeah,
I know that's not easy to watch.
You can't work, and yeah.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to it. So my extra, I'll be real quick, but I was excited to see Jeremy Renner back on television.
Oh, right.
One of the few people that watches Mayor of Kingstown, and I was just glad to see him back. In all, like, he's probably supposed to be dead, so I was glad to see him back. He was doing, he was a little more. He was a little slower. Not doing as much action stuff. He had a couple action scenes, but it's just it was good really seeing him back on screen.
Did he hit somebody with his cane, or did he?
No, he was running around. He was running around. There was a couple. I mean, it is a miracle that the guy is alive. So
it really is
really awesome.
Action does the mayor of the city do?
A lot.
I saw a great advertisement with him the other day, which was a shoe company that he uses. I don't know if anyone else saw this.
I didn't see that.
But he was kind of just talking about his journey getting back to this point.
Yeah.
Now doctors had told him he'd likely never run again, and he'd be walking with a limp for the rest of his life. And he has kind of pushed through a lot of that, and literally in the commercial was actually running.
It's crazy.
Around on his little driveway and looked okay. I mean, probably not up to full speed where he was, but it kind of made me tear up a little bit watching his story.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's like I said, it really is a miracle the guy's alive. So it's cool to see him act again. I hope all of me wants to see him as Hawkeye one more time.
Oh yeah.
So I hope we do get to see that at some point. I mean, I would just love to see it. So anyways, let us dive in. I'm going to do something that we have gotten away from, which is break out the data pad here and sort of do a quick episode breakdown. Okay. Episode 1 was Lost and Found, directed by Leslie Headland. She is also the showrunner, writer of the show as well with her writing team. But the quick IMDb synopsis: the Jedi pursue a suspect after a shocking crime. That fits the what happened. And then episode 2, Revenge Justice, and they're doing like slashes. We'll get into why they're doing the episode titles this way, but this one also directed by Leslie Headland. That does change for episode 3. She's only the director that I so far, and probably the last episode too, I'm guessing. I haven't looked that deep, but the first 2 episodes she directed. Kokonaga, I believe, directs the 3rd episode, if I'm not mistaken, which I was surprised by. But
Kokonaga?
Yeah, the guy that
got canceled.
Did he get canceled?
Are you talking about
the guy who directed Die Another Day?
Are you talking about Fukuyama?
No, not that guy. The guy that directed Columbia and or Columbus or whatever that movie was with.
Oh, I don't know
that guy. Okay. Yeah, come on, guys. An assassin strikes again, but this time the Jedi are there to attempt capture. Also pretty standard to what happens in the episode. So let's dive in a little bit. We don't have to like hit every single plot point, but I do want like Rhett, how many times, first of all, did you get a chance to watch the episode? I know this is rare for us to do it the day after.
Yeah, I rewatched it. I rewatched it this evening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
good. I did not have a chance to.
The 3 point, to see if I missed anything, and I didn't.
Well, what did you think? Just like high level.
I went into it
too deep just yet.
Yeah, when I went into one episode or both. Should we talk both?
Just the experience. Yeah, it's just
the whole thing. Yeah.
I mean, I went into it with very low expectations, and they were roughly met. It didn't make me particularly angry or sad the way Obi-Wan Kenobi or Book of Boba Fett did. But it was unremarkable, really, to the point that it was a slog only because I just cared very little about it. I didn't connect very much with most of the characters. I thought the production design was very mixed. I think the high points for me were the droids. I liked the pip droid quite a bit. I liked the pilot droids that turned into chairs.
That was cool.
That was cool.
I liked that. I thought the prison ship was one of the stupidest things that's ever been in Star Wars. The way that is set up. The performances were a very mixed bag. I think Steinberg, what's her Amanda
Mm-hmm.
Steinberg is what I've heard, but I don't know.
I thought she did very well. Playing the two sides, playing those two characters. She gave each of them quirks and their own personality. I thought that was good. I didn't love some of the costuming. I don't like the lighting. I don't like the depth of field. It makes it seem very TV show, and I know it is a TV show, and that's okay. There's something about the frame rate in a few scenes that really bugged me. I don't know if it's the streaming compression or what, but there's just something weird about how it was filmed that took me out of it a couple of times. From a story, I thought it was very simplistic. Some of the early reviews for people who'd seen the screeners, first 4 episodes, talked about this murder mystery, and the murder mystery was solved by the early part of the second episode, right? I mean, to a large extent.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more, obviously.
Well, but the murder. If you couch it as a murder mystery of who killed this person, and we're going to do an investigation about that, that's over. They figured it out, right? And now there was some background stuff, but the actual murder mystery did not carry through the story like I kind of expected. Many articles talked about Star Wars tackles the murder mystery. Well, it's over by midway through the second episode.
Unless it's not.
It is.
Oh, mind blown.
We know who killed the 2 Jedi. That was the mystery that they're talking about, okay?
Or was it?
They throw some other crap later.
But they don't know.
Solved. And I'm saying that's not it was a very simplistic thing, twin, some of these common tropes.
Right.
I would say
though?
I would say that the real mystery, and yes, there are definitely people who called it a murder.
Well, the Sith is the mystery,
real mystery
right?
is, well, I would say the real mystery is what her plans are and who that person is above her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm not to say that every question was answered, but if you wanted an investigative, this person's been falsely accused and this person's the real murderer and all that. Not only does the audience did you not drag the audience very far, but you didn't even drag the characters very far through that. That was largely resolved, and much of that tension resolved fairly early in the series. So that part. I felt it was a little bit simplistic and not particularly.
But do you not think that maybe this is all intentional and there's more to all of this?
Intentional, yeah, to be very simplistic and dumbed down to as much audience as you can. I thought they did make, it didn't feel a great deal like Star Wars to me. And that's fine. They, if you want to bring in, and they've said that in the marketing, they seem like they're almost antagonistic to some of these legacy Star Wars fans. So if you want to bring new fans in, it's built that way. It's built to cater to a new audience. We see Coruscant and we know there's Coruscant, and they put a title card up that tells us it's Coruscant. That's for new viewers. That is not to accommodate legacy Star Wars fans, right? That carries an expectation that you're showing new viewers into this world. I don't think that's probably going to be very successful. So there's this continued effort to bring in new, but they're at the expense of some of the legacy. There's nothing about this that just turned the switch off for me, like it could have done. And some of that other remains to be seen. I'm not in love with the way the Jedi are portrayed. I think the Vernestra or whoever is among the worst actresses I've seen in Star Wars. She was terrible, but it's hard to tell when a Jedi performer is acting poorly because the Jedi are often portrayed so stilted and stoic to the point that they're not interesting, So that could have been some of her. I think Torben's beard was stupid. He looked stupid, and I don't like when characters look stupid. Personal preference. I thought that beard looked stupid.
I'm okay with the Lincoln beard. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it looked very stupid. And but yeah, other than that, some of the. I don't like the
Red's
Jedi.
going deep. Red's criticizing facial hair this evening.
Well, I am. Yeah, I mean that's all part of the package. I mean, it's not a deal breaker. I just think some of the choices were things that turned me off, and some things worked pretty well. Yeah, it was just it was very simple and unremarkable, I guess.
Okay, Dr. Earl, follow that up.
No, well, first of all, let me back up and say I don't know any of the High Republic lore. So I don't
nor do I
know any backstories. I just came at this very simplistically to say, okay, let's see what this is about. Let's give it a shot. I agree with Rhett that sometimes it did not feel like Star Wars. At one point, I think with Daphne Keen's character, it almost felt like a Farscape look that she had. Like I used to watch that Farscape TV show. And every now and then I'd get a Star Trek vibe off of it. The way their outfits looked, I don't know. And it seemed very small to me, like it was just kind of shot on stages.
Well, I mean, what's interesting about this show is they did not use the volume. They chose to go stage with green screen.
I think the camera shots from something like a Kenobi where they did overuse the volume, I think those camera shots were much more restrictive side to side because of the volume. And this, at least from a camera standpoint, could be more expansive, but it still felt confined. I get
a little confined, but that's. But listen, I agree with Rhett. I thought Amanda Stanberg did good. I thought Joe. Let me make sure I get his name right.
Yeah, you don't want to mispronounce Lee
Jung Jae as Master Soul. I thought he had some gravitas.
He was probably my favorite
character. Yeah. Daphne Keen. Daphne Keen seemed really young in this. Has this been filmed?
She is a Padawan, so.
Well, no, but I meant she seemed younger than she is right now. Did they film this like several years ago? And she's just young.
Ago,
okay, she's
a year and a half.
But then Yord he just passed the trials, right? He was a Padawan until fairly recently, but that dude's 30-something years old in real life.
Well, that's fine.
That's not an exact science, this Jedi thing, okay?
I liked Pip. I like the little robot. I like that their robot technology is a little bit further back. And so
good. That's a really good point, actually.
Yeah, you don't have like the chair thing is just like
because this is 100 years prior to
right
Phantom. So
I thought that was good. I thought
I could do that.
Yeah, I think think I enjoyed both of these episodes. Occasionally there'd be like a sort of a stilted conversation, but I thought Amanda did a really good job. I thought the fight with Carrie Moss at the beginning, I thought that was really really strong, really sharp. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
What was her name? I just thought, and the way that the Jedi aren't fighting.
This is good from podcast here. I loved the idea that the martial arts force fu, if you will. I like for that's a good. You need to trademark that, if you will. Was the Jedi default? Sabers only come out as the last choice. Yeah, I
thought that was cool, and you felt the tension of like she's got to fight for her life here because you could tell that Amandla was coming fast and hard at her.
To be fair, I don't think Nick is saying that the character, but he's just saying that the character is I mean, he's not saying the actor was. He's just. I know what Nick's saying here.
Mikey, what?
Why would you think
I get it. I get it. No, go ahead.
Anyway, all I'm saying is I didn't have high expectations for it. I enjoyed sort of the mystery of like.
Let's unpack why we didn't have high expectations.
Well, let's go to Garrison next, right? And then
go ahead, Garrison.
Do I have to answer that question? I don't know.
No.
Oh, Andy coming in hot.
He was not good.
Coming in hot.
Well, she's barely in the show.
Was moved side to side. I was indifferent.
I mean, she just did a fight scene.
I agree with you, Nick. I agree with you. Or podcast, sorry. I don't know. Whatever, Nick.
I mean, I thought she did fine. I thought that fight was interesting in that she thought she had this thing just so easily won, and then she just had to realize she had to keep up in her game because.
But the only way she was murdered is because of a deceit. I mean, it wasn't
of
like
course,
a straight up
which
fight.
would be a Sith kind of thing to do.
Yeah,
right?
but she could have ended it early if she were not overconfident.
She was overconfident. That's right.
I mean, and
part of the hubris of the Jedi, which is what this show probably will expose a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, but that's not anything new. That's not a new concept, though. I mean,
well, Obi-Wan whipped his saber out at the first glimpse of anybody walking past in his peripheral. I mean, a door opened and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon jump up with their lightsabers. I mean, it's so things were certainly different later on. So I thought it was her overconfidence where she really should have.
Yeah.
Once you realize that this is a real threat, you end things very quickly, and she didn't do that, and she paid the price.
Yeah, that's fair.
Garrison,
I want to hear what he says. Bring it, G. What does the younger generation think?
I watched this on release at 9 p.m. That was a great experience. I loved that. That was great to just be able to sit down on a Wednesday night
instead of 3 a.m. your time.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing that. No thanks. Even if it's a show I like at this point in my life.
Right, yeah, the 3 a.m. things, they've got to get away from that altogether.
It's awful. Watched the first episode. Well, we'll just do thoughts of both episodes.
Yeah. We're covering both.
I thought it was fine. I thought it was. I got to see more. Ultimately,
right.
We only saw an hour.
I'm okay with a lot of the setup so far. In terms of production, I really like that they've really made a choice to make things as colorful as possible. If you look at the background of the ships and stuff like that, I mean, there's just tons of just sectioned off panels that have red and green and a lot of digital filmmaking nowadays. We tend to
makes sense podcast.
We tend to go with all these gray sets and gray color timing, and I don't really know why it's gotten to that point. But one thing I did appreciate about the show was I noticed kind of okay, there's a little more color here than some of the normal, and I think the volume may also affect that a little bit too. I don't know what they need to do to fix that. Fraser doesn't really have an issue with it, but some other people do.
Niles does.
Greg Fraser, the cinematographer. I thought Soul was interesting. I'm interested to see where they take his character. I have a feeling it might not go in the nicest place.
That's good, Andy.
I have a feeling he might.
Yes.
There seems to be some sort of secret we don't know about some of these guys knowing May previously.
Well, there was something that happened.
I think they probably went to pick up one of those kids to recruit to the Jedi, and the other one, May, I guess, did not like it and burned the place down in protest or something. I mean, that may not be specifically it, but I think this is probably related somehow to this Jedi recruitment of young children, sometimes against the will of the parents, which has been this kind of unspoken issue with Star Wars, with the Jedi for a long time as well. How do you get these kids? They're not volunteered, right? You kind of go in and take them. And I think that, which is not good, and I think that may come into play. That's a guess, but I think it's related to something like that, where the Jedi are really implicated in the deaths of that family.
The opening fight scene specifically, weirdly, in the theater, I thought it looked really good after the Phantom Menace re-release. I didn't care for it as much watching it at home.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just a theater shill, and everything looks better in the theater.
Well, it's the way it's shot. There's something about the way this is filmed that makes it smaller than it is, and I don't know what it is, but
I did like that Osha, while trying to tap into the Force, and clearly that's going to be a plot point as the show goes on. Sure, I think she'll get better at it. But I like that she wasn't easily able to just kind of maneuver things. And
that was good. Yeah, I'm glad
in the ship.
Yeah.
Although obviously slid back towards her through plot convenience, but I was okay with that ultimately. I mean that
that's what it is.
Sure. We gotta have Pip.
I'm sure there'll be some sort of parody video where they'll mention that she could have died there easily. I don't, I just kind of apathetic after watching them.
They're so short. Like it's only like 30 minutes, right?
40. That's 40 minutes or so.
Well, Garrison does not like it when we talk about episode length, Dr. Earl.
Oh, sorry, Garrison.
Wait, how does this? Wait a minute. How did this turn into me not like? It was you always going, "Oh, this is so terrible that it's 40 minutes." And I'm like, Mikey, it could be great. It could be well paced. Who knows?
I know.
So it is interesting. They don't have astromech droids yet, right? They have people that go out.
No, they do, but they also still have people.
Okay.
Or they also are still using. I mean,
they're more flexible. She said,
okay.
A lot of people were
she said they're more
surprised
flexible.
that she was still doing that job.
I have to add one thing to my reaction for the first episode specifically.
Please.
When she's like, "Oh, we can still hear you," scene with the Trade Federation guys.
Right.
I felt like I got pulled into like a Marvel movie for a second there.
Oh, yeah.
Just the humor.
Yeah. It didn't take me out of it. It wasn't bad. The Nemoidians look good.
The creatures
they did look good. Yeah, they looked good.
I've just never seen that.
All the creatures look good. Yeah. So. The props to them because all the creatures do look good. I agree with you a little bit, Earl. You said about Jackie kind of looking sort of Muppet-like in a sense that she was in that.
Like Farscape.
Which is Muppet, which is a Jim Henson show.
There's a Muppet in there, yeah.
Well, it's a Jim Henson show.
Right.
And so, yeah.
I love Farscape, by the way. I
liked it too. It was fine.
She looked like a Star Trek character. It looked like it was harder. She seemed less alien, and it felt makeup, and some of that's Uncanny Valley stuff, where your head overrides the truth, and
but at the same time, though, I liked her character quite a bit.
I agree with that. I agree with that too.
I think that her character was one of the better characters. I think Master Soul is probably my favorite character because he has a bit of Qui-Gon in him, I believe, where sure he'll skirt the line as if you want him to, but then he'll also not necessarily agree with everything. Like, I don't think we're really going back to Coruscant for episode 3. I don't think he's going to listen to Venestra and go back to Coruscant because he knows.
I don't know.
I think that he's a character. I think his character is one that is not necessarily going to listen to Venestra.
Well, it's also a situation. So whatever happened with that family in May,
right?
Like you could almost see this being like a Jedi incident that he's not going to go back to Coruscant because he's got to maybe he's not such a good. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a good guy, but maybe there's something.
Earl, I agree. I think his path is gonna. He's not gonna be evil, but I think he's gonna kind of go down a dark path.
You think Master Soul is?
I think we're being set up to see flaws in the Jedi, the way they do things, the way they operate, which is fair. That's fair. I don't mind that.
I don't mind that at all.
We got that in the prequels. You can see how their hubris and kind of indifference led to the downfall of things, right? And even some of this stupid crap about not having attachments and forbidding, feelings and things like that. Like, it doesn't make sense, and you can start to see cracks in that. And they alluded to that a little bit with Soul, where he still has an attachment to Osha, and that'll play out. So I don't mind that. I think there's a concern out in the ether that they were going to really tear the Jedi down, similarly to what they did with Luke in The Last Jedi. And maybe we can still get there, but generally speaking, showing flaws in the way they did things, maybe showing a little bit of a sinister underlying current within the Jedi does not turn me off entirely. I don't mind seeing that. I think that can make for some good drama if it's done very well and not on the nose, right? Which remains to be seen. So I'm okay if they messed up, and that's what caused. I mean, that's what's going to happen. They messed up and they caused some of this tragedy with Osha's family somehow, and those 4 Jedi are being held responsible for it.
Well, one of them's already taken poison for it, right?
Yeah,
like
he wanted absolution. He knew. He said, "Forgive me." He wanted absolution. He took himself off the board. That's not something we've seen in Star Wars.
I don't necessarily like that either. I think that's actually going too far for Star Wars.
Oh, I'm okay with that.
I'm not okay with that.
Look, in its defense, that is a more adult. I mean, I said earlier, and I think a lot about this writing being very simplistic and geared toward kind of the not thought-provoking young audience, but that is a step toward a more adult approach, and I didn't hate it. That was done. It may not have been executed particularly well, but it was. Yeah.
What were you saying, Garrison?
That kind of harkens back to me of kind of the samurai roots of everything. If you feel like you've dishonored some,
and selling his sword, right?
But that's not a step that I ever really wanted my personal Star Wars to ever take. I mean, I didn't.
I'd rather he commit literal seppuku with his
lightsaber. Well, that'd be awesome. But then it would just, as we've seen, it would just like a gut shot would not do anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's a Jedi. It kills Jedi. It's the early day of your Sabine.
Well, that's
the Japanese,
or all those others too.
Yeah,
it's not just a gut shot. You go across the.
Well, that's true. You do go.
And, you
pour your guts out.
Rhett's theory about child kidnapping is an interesting one, but I wonder if it's more something like they were at this place. It's almost like a thing that happened in Vietnam. Something went down that was really bad. We didn't manage it right. We've all vowed we'll be hush about it. We're not going to tell them.
Is this the Jedi's me lie? Oh man,
I don't know, but there's something happened there where this family was killed or this village was killed. Maybe I don't know, napalm. Who knows? I don't know. They forced...
and look, what I'm saying, they say on the show that May is the one that set the fire, right?
That's right.
They refer to her as being the one that set the fire, and that I'm guessing.
Yes, Brian.
And I'm trying to, could it be a reaction to they're taking Osha? She's trying to stop that. She tries to create this distraction, and it gets out of hand. I don't know. There's many possibilities there.
They both have force powers, and
sure. I don't know.
Well, what was interesting is both Osha and May thought each other were dead. Like, I don't think
which I was a little bothered. Like, okay, so they've been apart 10 to 15 years, like 15 years maybe. Both have the same haircut. That's When I thought, well, maybe May is trying to implicate Osha, so she's taking on her look. But no, they didn't know each other was alive, and they both got the same haircut. Whatever.
Actually, I thought one of them had longer hair. I thought one of them had longer hair.
She has extensions, but it's the same braids. It's just more on one. Andy mentioned.
You're very concerned about hair tonight.
I am.
Hair and beard and.
There is a whole Academy Award given for makeup. Okay,
hairstyling.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm surprised.
Andy mentioned in the chat something about the music. He said the music was great. And let me say,
I thought it was good.
I didn't, and I'll tell you why.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Man. Well, it was mostly unremarkable, but there were a couple of scenes,
I thought it was wonderful.
Some approach shots that were almost note for note from the prequel trilogy, and they matched the same scenes, almost the same shots, and it felt not like that inspired me, but like I'm going to copy it almost outright. And now Star Wars music is Star Wars music. You can use these themes throughout Star Wars. I mean, if you want to play the Force theme, I'm not going to be mad about it. But some of those, but it's filler music. It's not like a theme. It's just kind of, and it was. I mean, it was just the chord structure was so similar that it felt derivative to me, but not in a good way, not in an homage way. And I thought it was almost like a shortcut, like the composer who I'm not familiar with just kind of took some shortcuts and like, I'm just going to repurpose some old music, and that's why I didn't like it. I didn't get anything fresh and new from the score that I really wanted.
I thought it was great, like right at the end. Now I'll be honest, I did not hear it like pay attention to it like during the episode, but like right at the end when the credits rolled, I thought that music was pretty good because it had this sort of mysterious vibe about it that was a little bit different. Anyway, to each his own. I guess we'll just have to.
A couple of things that I obviously noticed that they wanted the audience to notice is May has that symbol on her forehead. So there's some witchcraft stuff maybe
some of this stuff over here.
Yeah, she's got I don't think it's gonna be Night Sister stuff, but there is obviously, as you can see on the poster, this witch that is being introduced soon to us, I'm sure.
Is she going to be Sith? Probably this.
I don't think that they're going there.
Force witches. Who knows whether it's Sith?
Yeah. Mother and niece or something.
Yeah, it's Mother, but she's not going to be. She's not going to.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't reveal that, but that's what the name is on the IMDb.
It's fine. No, it's okay to reveal that. It's out there. People can find it.
Look. So one of the mysteries, I think, is this that Ezra Miller character is Khmer or whatever. Dude's a spitting image of Ezra Miller to me. I don't know. He's got these same little quirks to him.
You're talking about
Ezra Miller. Khmer.
Manny Jacinto. Yeah.
Whatever his name is. Who cares?
That's the actor's name. Yeah.
He Like, is it too obvious that he's the dude with the stupid mask with the venom mask?
I don't think it's him. He's too young. He's not. I don't think
that. You think he's
with the mask? Rat, they had a line of dialogue that would point you in that direction, which makes me think it's not him.
Well, yeah, that's what. But
right.
But also, like, the mysteries here have not gone very far. Like, you could have. Like the twin thing, and they resolve very quickly. So I worry that I'm like, is it just going to? Is it too Is it? It seems too telegraphed, too good to be true. But does that make it true? Right?
What if it's a triplet?
Oh,
well, sure.
Or another set of twins.
I could go with that, sure. So yeah. But there's something. Clearly, there was some suggestion that Khmer is in. You know, he obviously had a relationship with May, a previous relationship.
Yeah,
he would speak in the. You know, he wants you to do this. He does that. I don't know. I mean, it felt like they could go that route. Maybe they won't, but it seems like the kind of show. If you're a Harvey Weinstein secretary, that might be the thing that you write.
See,
you're not good at writing.
Let's not.
Why not? Why can't I credit? Why can't you talk about a creative's background in this? You can do that, okay?
That's fair.
Obviously you can.
Why are you guys so protective of Harvey Weinstein?
I'm not I just didn't think
great film.
It's not necessary to bring up the assistant. Oh my gosh!
So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt.
You Weinstein apologists.
No, we're not apologizing for Weinstein.
That's an opinion you can have.
I just don't think there's any correlation between a previous job she had and her writing skills. That's all I'm saying.
Well, does the show not seem a little simplistic to you?
Only
no,
because
you guys are some big thinkers.
It's simplistic. Because there's more coming. There's more mystery coming. There's more reveals coming. It's not. Just this.
It didn't blow its wad in these first.
Yeah, it's not just this.
We'll see. Okay, well here, take the prison scene. The prison escape.
Oh yeah, what about those guys?
There's a ship with these hardened criminals on it, in chicken wire cages, right next to, adjacent to one another, and with one single droid on board that can the form of what the warden, the droid warden, who walks within reach of all of the prisoners so he can be grabbed. Okay, there's no firewall protecting any of the droids from being accessed remotely. Or is this the first escape attempt on this ship that's ever been made by any prisoner ever, and we just have to be here for it? Or is this a terribly designed, easy, simple way for our main character to escape? That was not a complexly drawn up scene. It took me out of it because it was so overly simple and stupid. And that's kind of what we got, what we're getting. And you guys are like, no, this is high art. Wait for the philosophical conversation to come. And I'm not so sure we're going to get that.
I mean, I liked when the ship was like spinning out of control. I thought that was a pretty good.
Spinning's a good trick. Yeah, that's complexity.
What do you want me to say?
It's pretty typical prison scene.
It's not Shogun. It's not like I'm not expecting.
This isn't trying to be. Fine, Shogun. It's not trying to be
Shakespeare.
Yeah,
but do you want a show for babies, or do you want something that's written with a little more complexity? That's all.
The complexity is.
Why do you guys? You're like you know what you're like a little bit. You're like those Trump people who, if you hear the word Trump, you rush in to defend whatever lunacy it is, or Biden, or to take that side, or Biden people do it. Y'all do that with Star Wars. You secretly know it's crap these days.
No. It's not crap. It's not crap.
You say it. Star Wars is crap. It's crap. No. This one is better than almost
horrible person.
This crap we got.
This.
I didn't feel much after watching these first two episodes.
Yeah,
but I also am willing to push forward and see what the show's very successful creator, Leslie Headland.
Now, not every Star Wars project. Not every Star Wars project can be as great and as brilliant as this one. But
I can't even see what that is. That's a terrible movie. Look, the Acolyte did not offend me horrifically. I know why.
I didn't feel much.
People
you're the one making this.
You got to come to Headland's defense. Like she's your little sister.
I'm just defending simple minor points that you're pointing out. I told you I'm apathetic about the first two episodes.
Well, that's largely what I am too. I don't think it was terrible. I do think it was simplistic to the point that it did not keep me engaged particularly well.
And that's fair.
Okay, that's fair.
I think
I didn't know where it was going. Though.
There were the things that
were engaged. All right,
I was engaged.
There was a couple things that took me out of it. Like
I fell asleep a few times, but I'm not gonna.
Like Fat Padawan took me out of it. I didn't like Fat Padawan.
That guy would force speed to him is like just hoofing it up some stairs, and he's like, whoo, he did not appear to be in peak physical fitness that you would expect from a Jedi.
Now,
it might not have been implemented 100 years ago that you had to be in shape to be a Jedi because
one thing
used their power so much.
He looked like a guy that Triumph in the episode 1 line it was like, why are you out of breath? You sound like you just walked 10 feet. He looked like that guy.
I did like this whole concept because I guess this must be in the High Republic or something where they have different temples on different planets.
Like they had offshoots of the big temple. Yeah,
well, they're like police stations, right?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because it's very Doctor Strange, where there's different, in each big city.
Police districts. That's a good way to say it. Or like synagogues. Idea. You've got the main temple, and you've got these other.
Talking about them being kind of the cops, right? They have maintained peace in the galaxy for 1,000 generations or whatever. One of the first things we see the Jedi do is interrogate that Nemordian. Like he tried to mind meld with him to get that information out of him. That guy had committed no crime. There's no right to against incrimination in this world, and that
was Soul.
Thanks for stopping by.
Soul did that with May later,
right? But at least that's but this is just a guy flying a ship, and first thing Yor does is try to beat the information out of him with his brain.
I don't think they wanted you to view that as a good thing that Soul was doing.
Right, and that's okay. I think, when you have had this unchallenged reign of power that the Republic has had, and the enforcers of that are the Jedi, I think, that absolute power corrupts a little bit. And so you get to see, it's not, I mean, that's hardly, I wouldn't liken it to like police brutality. It's nothing like that. It's not that extreme, but it's the makings of that, right? It's the early kind of the antiseptic version of that a little bit, where you can see that the Jedi maybe are not doing things like they should. They're not all good. It's not all altruistic. I did like that. I thought that was a nice touch. I hate that it was Yord who did it, because he's such a bad character, and that didn't ingratiate you to him in that moment either. But I liked the it wasn't too on the nose. I liked seeing that the Jedi maybe are up to some bad things. You know, you now have no right to privacy of your information. You have no right against self-incrimination. Well, that's not good. That's a bad galaxy to live in.
It's like they're walking, talking Borgullets, and it's just not.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
it's just not
nice.
good.
Nice. Well, yeah, and Yorg is supposed to be the hothead. The truth is, if you look at
wrinkles, the guy's got laugh lines. He's in his mid-30s. Like, when do you mature?
I mean, have the Jedi ever been consistent with what their tenets across all of the?
I mean, Obi-Wan's maybe the most consistent Jedi, and that's about it. That's fair, about it. I mean, there's
there's always one that loses his
Yoda.
cool.
Yoda's pretty consistent.
Yoda's consistent, but I'm just saying, there's always a hothead Jedi or a Jedi who turns away, or there's these different
angsty Jedi.
Yeah, and he seems like the hothead Jedi.
I did like the quick redemption of character for me for Yord, where he stood up for Osha, and
I did like that too.
I liked that.
He said, "I was there. I know
I saw what she did. She's telling the truth." I mean, you know, that type
it was a weirdly timed scene though, because he stood off camera.
Yeah.
About 2 minutes of conversation of them accusing her before he finally comes out and says, "No. I watched her the whole way." Like, he should have walked out immediately when they found him dead, But
he could have been that far behind her. Maybe
he wasn't.
I don't know. It was a weird decision. I didn't understand that either.
It's weirdly timed. I think that's directing. That's not that's part of that process where a more seasoned director might have fixed that, or maybe in the edit you can fix some of that.
Right.
But it looked a little clunky to me.
So we do get Cal Naka there at the very end. Has he left the Jedi Order? Is that what we're supposed to think with him on this planet? I mean, they know where he is.
There was so little done there. I don't know.
Yeah, there was so.
Yeah, who knows?
I didn't understand, because if he's got this, does he have a backstory in the books? This is new character. Well, okay. Now, I don't know High Republic, so I cannot.
I think the Green Lady's the only existing High Republic character.
Okay.
All right.
Nepo wife.
I thought I vaguely recognized Torben's name, but all these names are. Wow. Wow.
What's her name? Vectura, Valtura.
Anyway. Who are you talking about?
Never mind. Let's go back to Black Chrysanthemum.
Oh, I didn't know he was on the show.
No,
no, Cal Naka.
Yeah.
No, this event, this tragedy that cost the lives of Osha's
parents,
family,
no doubt, diverse family, is it has clearly triggered these Jedi, right? Soul still got some attachment to her. The other dude took a vow of silence and just wanted to float his days away.
Which I kind of like that.
Absolution. He wanted absolution for it. Cal Naka seems like he's gone out.
Like Master Soul has much of a.
Into the
he's
wilderness.
Not beat up about it. He's just like, I'm just going to go back to course.
Attachment to her. I mean, we're developing him. We're developing him a little more slowly. We only have a little bit of time with these other Jedi, so it's going to be a crash course,
Yeah.
But look, I thought it was interesting that Carrie Ann, she seemed to be at a table, like hobnobbing, it was almost like a card game environment. I don't know what they were doing there.
Yeah, she was with
some kind of loosey-goosey, which you don't expect of the Jedi. She seemed like she was maybe they were riffraff almost, and she was kind of down in that, which I think was another kind of a visual cue that maybe the Jedi are not as above it all as they're portrayed. Yeah.
Clearly, she's a Death Stick addict.
Yeah, could be.
I mean, clearly. Yeah, because she was just kind of these riffraff looking characters, really.
Yeah. And then
she was in communication with somebody.
Right. Well, that was it. Like, she seemed to be on duty though, because she called dispatch or whatever.
Yeah. I mean,
that's right.
No,
you saw it twice, so
nobody really ever came. But I mean,
right.
We didn't have enough time for that to happen. But
she thought she could put it down pretty quickly, so I don't think she really.
One other really interesting thing, at least I clocked it as interesting, maybe it's not, but May not taking the lightsabers after she would dispatch of the Jedi. She left.
She was always grabbing at them. She was always trying to get them in both fights.
She just left them when they would fall.
Yeah, well, I think she wanted them for I'm going to go into this fight unarmed, and I'm going to arm myself. I'm going to disarm the Jedi and use their own weapon.
She's just going to use it to kill them.
Yeah, that's part of her trial, I guess. And then so she didn't need them.
There was dialogue about that, like the guy in the mask said something about weaponry, or you don't need weapons.
That was Chimere, but
Torben,
which
right?
could be the guy in the mask.
Yeah,
I think they both said something similar.
I thought the mask guy said something too.
I don't know. Did he? Yeah, maybe. But listen, he's standing out on the seaside. He pulled Darth Maul, where he lights his saber only so the audience can know that he has a red lightsaber.
No.
There's no other reason to do that.
You're right.
I know.
And the other thing, here's what I don't like. Here's what turned me against the writing early is if you have to, if the way you give your audience information is by two characters telling each other information that they already know, I don't think that's a good way to deliver information. And that's how we got Osha's backstory, is them telling Osha her backstory. Yeah. And I don't. That's a bad sign for me. That's a suggestion that maybe who's writing this doesn't know how to write particularly well, and it's, at the very least, is taking some significant shortcuts. I don't like to see that, and I saw it within the first 10 minutes of this show. I don't think that's probably a good sign for the quality and depth of writing and how you tell a story. It's an overly simplified way to tell a story.
Well, that's a police procedural technique, right? These shows will bring a suspect in. They'll tell them, okay, we know who you are. And it's a way of letting the audience know her backstory.
It's a forgettable, but you can do that. You should be able to do that more organically.
It's a police procedural. They're doing it.
There's nothing memorable. Police procedurals are not memorable shows.
No, I don't watch them because they're always.
Yeah, I don't watch them.
I don't want that out of Star Wars. I would like a more heightened, more advanced, complex storytelling process. Way of telling that story.
Yeah, it does.
I'm not forgiving these points by saying what I'm about to say, but at this point, I don't expect that out of a Star Wars show.
Well, but that's bad, right?
I know it is bad. I know.
And this is another thing I thought earlier. If you take Deucecast Extra, this started why? Because of Yellowstone. Right?
Yeah, Yellowstone. Yeah.
You started with Yellowstone. Yellowstone is a show that I think its contribution to culture, the quality of the drama and the acting, I think it was worthy of coverage.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
The problem with Star Wars is that it is no longer worthy of coverage. Now, everybody will cover it because it is Star Wars, but only because it's Star Wars and not because it's telling a story that is different, that tells us something about humanity, that exposes some part of society. It's just Star Wars, and that's why we're covering it. And I want better Star Wars than that. I don't want it to just be rote.
We can't help you.
Because it's Star Wars. I want to be here because it's a good story. And worthy of coverage, right? Star Trek Discovery was not worthy of coverage. I don't think. I don't think it was worthy of coverage. Whereas maybe the original would the Next Generation have been worthy of coverage? Does the show? I'm biased for Battlestar Galactica, but a show like that I think is worthy of coverage. Shogun is worthy of coverage. Even Fallout, which is, Fallout is not high art, but it was a nice way to tell a story in a fun way. I think that's worthy of coverage, but there's nothing about Star Wars these days that rises to the level of even really talking about it in depth. And so we're trying to. So you have to nitpick to get anything out of it. But Andor was not cultural zeitgeist worthy. It didn't hit.
You're talking about saying something.
No, right. No, you're right. And I could have mentioned Andor because I do love Andor. But even from a coverage standpoint, does it resonate with society in a way? Is it relevant and is it viewed enough to justify covering it? I don't know if it was.
That's not necessarily like why. At least from a Deucecast Extra standpoint.
No, I know. I mean, generally, these shows are no longer worth a broader discussion. And to get anything out of it, you have to nitpick Star Wars to find something to talk about. And I don't think that's good. I don't think that's good for the property. It's never what I wanted. I spent my entire, the first 40 years of my life talking about almost only Star Wars, and I only had 6 movies to do it with. For half of that, I only had 3.
Well, now you have more content.
I think the problem with a lot of creators. I'm not going to put Tony Gilroy in this sentence. I mean, Tony Gilroy's clearly the savior of Star Wars, but I think some of the creators behind some of the shows that have not been as successful as maybe first 2 seasons of Mando. I think that in their mind, to be relevant, they have to have things in their shows that are of the culture today. And so they feel like they have to have certain things in their shows that make some commentary about here's what's going on in 2024, and we need to put this in our show so we can be culturally relevant.
Science fiction has always done that, and I know Star Wars isn't technically science fiction, but it's close enough to that genre to be a fair discussion point. Science fiction's always done that. Science fiction takes a modern element of society and exposes it. It paints it differently. It's okay. You can tell great stories with a social message, even one that not everybody will agree with. You can put elements from the real world into your story and tell a great story. This is a trivial item, and I'm going to say it anyway. Gravity Falls, I think, is fantastic. Animated series, not a cartoon. There is a homosexual couple in Gravity Falls. There's not a great deal of attention called to it, but it's there. And it's not hidden. It's not, nobody calls it out. It's hardly even relevant to any of the stories, but the characters, they provide good laughs when they show up. They're part of the story, and it's just almost an afterthought. It's just there because it's there, and no one talks about it because that's just who those guys are. And there were great stories told with that. So they took an element kind of from modern society and put it in this more of a traditional animated show, and it was fine. The X-Men did it. They've done it for decades now, where they've taken marginalized people and kind of told their story through comics. You can do it well.
You can.
Star Wars has not done it particularly well the last few years. And look, even Lucas did it with Return of the Jedi. He made that almost a vague Vietnam allegory, right? On the forest moon of Endor, where a technologically advanced aggressor gets whooped by the indigenous people. That was very much inspired by Vietnam. But we like Return of the Jedi. You can take modern elements, contemporary philosophies and ideologies, put them in a story and tell a good story. Star Wars has not done a great job of that lately.
Well,
so
I think I think media landscape as a whole has not done that well lately.
Oh, you're right. It's message first and then story instead of integrating your message.
Well, and that largely comes down from the corporations as we do message first because message gives us more money.
But I don't. But does it? That's the weird thing.
No,
before I go any further, let me say I don't think the messaging in Acolyte was particularly strong and in my face. I did not.
No.
I'm not. It's fine.
Where I was going with that. No, I agree. It largely doesn't make you money. People don't care about that. They care about the stories being good. And so you see something like Marvel. Okay, Black Panther makes $700 million domestic. Mm-hmm. It's both got a good message, but also a good story.
Yep.
But then you look at something like the Marvels, which I don't really think has a major message in terms of this film on screen. But it wasn't a good story, and it did the worst an MCU film's ever done on a high budget.
The Marvels you're talking about,
and it's not, and then look, the Marvels was blamed, or much of the Marvels, I guess, disastrous box office was blamed on a lack of men attending it, right? They're like, men turned off.
The majority of them.
Men was excuse me, they were the majority of that audience. Hold up.
Yeah. I mean, women didn't go.
You've seen some of that in the advanced press for Acolyte, where they're like, we don't want this. If you don't like it because of this, that, or the other, that may not be why you don't preemptively defend. Paint your audience as the problem,
right?
When you don't really understand it yet. It may just be that your story's not particularly good. It's not that we don't like female protagonists. We do. I like Sarah Connor. I like Ripley, Ellen Ripley. There are plenty of. Look, I didn't hate Rey at the beginning of that series. The Force Awakens was fine, until you really dig into it. But so. I don't like that this kind of show starts that kind of conversation up where now we have to defend.
Dude,
then you do have
brutal.
It does, so from my standpoint, like if I'm not going to really embrace this show to avoid this stupid argument that I'm some sort of a bigot misogynist, I feel an obligation to point out, well, here's why it's not great. It has nothing to do with the gender or sexual persuasion of any of the characters. It is very specifically because this is weak writing here. These production values are low. This is a plot hole. This is an and then instead of a because. It's not good writing, and that's the thing that gets me, man. I'll watch your show about whatever it is if it's good. But lately, Star Wars hasn't been particularly good. As far as is it deserving of coverage? Mandalorian season 1 and 2, I think, was deserving of coverage. But what else was? Loki season 1 deserving of coverage is Hawkeye. Is Secret Invasion?
I like Hawkeye.
Yes.
I liked Hawkeye.
It's good. It's okay, but it is not worthy of I'm going to devote extra hours of my life now to debating it and discussing it.
Well, I mean,
I want Star Wars to be that. I do want Star Wars to be worthy of that discussion, but it isn't right now.
Well, hey, Andor season 2 is coming out in December or so we'll jump right on that.
But you don't even think that's real Star Wars, right? And maybe it's not.
Well, a lot of people don't. Well, you're right. A lot of OT fans don't like that.
My argument with part of your argument there would be, I mean, you talk about just what it has to say, and ultimately Star Wars came out of kind of an idea of doing a good versus evil. It was a kind of simplistic hero's journey story at first. And so I don't really have a problem with simplistic stories being told in universe. They just need to be told well in universe. And I also don't have a problem with Andor coming in and doing a more complex story either. I really don't. It just didn't gel with me at first. I love the prison arc. I think that's a fantastic piece of that TV show. But
the irony for me is that I think Andor is maybe the most accessible Star Wars TV show. It has the least. It comes with the least baggage.
It's not 4 quadrant though.
Yeah,
I would not call it 4 quadrant.
Well, I'm not talking about 4-quadrant. I'm talking about accessible. You don't need to have seen all of Star Wars to appreciate the contained story that is Andor.
Not canon you have to worry about.
Yeah, you have to know all the back lore.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, right. It's a good story, and I think it's a story that you can describe that story without giving away that it's Star Wars. I think you could. I could talk to my wife and say, "Here's why I think you would like this show." This is a.
I wonder if Acolyte checks some of those boxes.
Well, I think it wants to, and I think they think it should, and that's why I brought up the title cards for the locations. Yeah. I think that they don't expect you to know where all these places are. They want a new audience.
Well, I personally don't have a problem with title. I'll just say this real quick. I don't have a problem with title cards because, I saw that what's his name said something in the chat about it.
Like it.
But it's not just that it helps us know, us as fans know where we are, but also anytime you're writing a new project, you should come in with the expectation that somebody new is going to be watching. I think that's how you should write and produce a project.
Me too. I think so too. So you get, you can establish some of the rules. You have to that's the problem with these. If you work within that same universe, you do have to reestablish those rules for your new audiences. And it's okay if it does that. I don't know that it will. Right? I mean, Andor didn't. I mean, I just talked about how much more accessible Andor is, but it wasn't accessed by people outside the Star Wars world.
I don't know the numbers.
I'll tell you why
Garrison
this
has
will
the
have
numbers. Yeah.
I'll tell you why this will have. Well, I don't have the numbers currently, but I mean, it just came out. But
no, I mean, like previous shows.
Yeah. I'll tell you why this will have a larger audience than Andor, and I'm not saying that in a positive way.
Right.
And Andor's audience at first was pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
Jedis. I mean, people are way more enamored by
lightsabers.
The lightsabers and Jedis.
And I had literally yesterday, one of the people I work with at work. I'm gonna. I don't really want to describe him, but
no. Just a normal Star Wars. Yeah,
a normal person.
A normie.
I would say he probably is a silent Star Wars fan. In terms of like just like in terms of the movies, the
pop Star Wars guy.
The original.
Not reading books, not
going to read the books.
But he was like, "Oh, they got a new Star Wars show coming out tonight. I'm going to watch it." And I was like, "Okay,
So what that tells me is good job on the marketing. I mean, marketing
got the word out. Yeah.
He must watch like Sports Ball and maybe saw like a TV spot or something.
And they also. Baseball. I think the weekly releases is going to help.
That helps
audiences. I still think that's the best way for.
I mean, they got to have a good story, like you're saying, Rhett. But I mean, still.
Well, no, I think the Acolyte is more accessible than Andor by far. I mean, I think this has the makings of a very accessible show. But I think to some extent it's too late. It's too late for Star Wars. Like it was not done organically.
Well,
look, Star Wars is not. Star Wars is it's just a thing that happens in the background now. It's no longer a cultural force.
Well,
that's fair.
It was as early as Mando season 1 and 2. I think culturally it was at a peak at that point because of Baby Yoda. Let's be honest. I mean, it was because of Baby Yoda.
Boba Fett had high viewership too, due to Mando season 1 and 2.
Right,
and those Mando episodes.
Goodwill. Yeah, I mean, Boba Fett had a lot of goodwill with it.
I think Star Wars fans, like OT fans, are getting frustrated that there hasn't been a movie in a while. I mean, and they keep getting shows that maybe they aren't.
Well, if you're a movie nerd, if you want to have a franchise that's viable and it actually makes money, I would like a movie.
Right.
If you right now, all these studios are so sunk into this stupid ass streaming war. Sorry.
Well, and I heard a really good point that somebody made. Now that these bundles are happening, you're going to have crossover between companies as far as timing of shows now.
Here's what the bundle truly is, by the way. The bundle
like Warner Brothers and Disney are going to have to figure out so they can get maximum subscribers to the bundles. Here's when I want House of Dragon to come out. Here's when, okay, I'll wait for you to have that show so they keep the bundle. Then we're going to wait, and here's my next Star Wars show. They're going to have to do that now.
I mean, if you've got the bundle, though, you don't have to run. You don't have to. You can double up. I mean, you have to have some overlap, or that doesn't to justify the bundle, or otherwise you just get one.
No. I'm the saying bundle. That the timing of the show release dates are going to be key, though, to keep.
Well, I know, but I think you have to overlap that. I mean, it's okay to have people watch 2 shows in a week.
I don't think that, though. I mean,
I think all America does is sit around. Okay, so give them something to do. I mean,
here's the real reason for bundles, and I was listening to a good podcast about this today, this morning as I was waking up. All the bundles are pretty much going to be packaged with the ad tier version of everything.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's all.
They're trying to get you back on ads because they're losing their behinds on traditional streaming because it doesn't make money unless you do the Netflix model where you lose money for a decade and then start making money.
Right. A lot of money, a lot.
Which is not a viable. We don't even know if that's viable with like 5 or 6 streamers doing that.
Probably not. Yeah.
And so they can actually sell ads to advertisers and make money that way. Wow, what a brilliant concept! Who came up with that? I don't understand that at all. Bundling channels together and selling ads. That's crazy.
Yeah. What if we started watching, let's start airing shows just once. Really drive viewership into that.
If you really want to take a look at it, this is the streaming profit loss for 2023. It's probably not super legible.
It's pretty dismal. It's pretty dismal.
That's Netflix way in the green right there, and then everybody else is super negative in the billions.
Yep.
Way in the red, you mean? Or
no, Netflix is in the green, way in the green.
Okay.
It's the color was red, Earl, but it was above the 0.
Yeah. It's red for
Netflix.
In the black. He means in the black.
Yeah. Sorry, in the black.
In the black, yeah.
Yeah. But
financial terms, in the black.
So if I want a franchise to I mean, look, it's a complex, long conversation in terms of Star Wars, but if I want it to continue, I want a theatrical release.
the Mandalorian and Grogu movie has to make $1 billion. It does. Worldwide. It has to make it does.
What kind of story could you write?
If that movie fails, Star Wars is in big trouble.
Why is under $1 billion failing? It's not going to be budgeted that high, I promise.
Every other Star Wars movie has made Solo I guess didn't, but I mean even Rise of Skywalker made $1 billion.
Yes, Rise of Skywalker made $1 billion because it was good.
Oh, good grief!
Wait, what just happened?
Dude, it made 500. You guys don't understand it. It made 500 million domestic. People liked that movie.
They really did.
People are dumb, and that's why they.
The problem, right?
Anybody who likes that movie is dumb. And there are a lot of people who are very stupid.
And we lost our viewership.
Well, I mean, if they're watching this, they might also be dumb.
The top domestic movies that year were Endgame at 848 or whatever.
Right.
You had Rise of Skywalker was up there at 500. Lion King remake made a buttload of money.
But
that was a different era. That was pre-COVID.
That the expectation from Disney is if Mando and Grogu does not make $1 billion, we can't do this Rey movie. We can't do this 10,000 years.
What the budget is.
Yeah, it's all about the budget. They can't expect that because that movie will go to people know they intuitively understand that movie will be available in their homes in a few weeks.
No, they're going to change that. No, Disney's already changing that. They're going to have a 100-day window. They're going to have a 100-day window.
It will be available soon enough, or they won't get people won't keep their subscriptions. Okay,
true. That's not true.
How can you know it's not true? That's how that works. You have to have content for your service.
Well, here's the thing: if we're gonna kill Disney Plus, you
got to kill Disney.
Do
Plus,
that.
Then.
I'm told you're negative 1.7 billion in the year 2023 alone. You were also negative in 22, 21, 20, and 19.
They'll end up doing
it.
That's how. I think that's right. I mean that is one way they can get back into making money at the movies is to kill that.
if you kill Disney, when Disney Plus did not exist, Avengers films and Pixar films were sold to Netflix $50 million each. You've now totally lost that revenue stream.
Yeah. I was about to say, you can still make your Star Wars show and sell it to somebody else.
Yes.
Well, the problem now is the pride, though. They can't like if Iger wouldn't do it. Now Iger's successor might.
Okay, but
Iger's not going to make the decision.
If they're bound to that, then they must have content on it. You can only delay that appearing on streaming for so long, and they can't do it for that long. All you got to do is wait it out. And if there's nothing particularly compelling about, I need to see this right now, there's a time-sensitive reason for me to see this at the theater. There's not the same. It's a TV show. How many? I know this maybe it's a little bit of a different example, but how many TV shows graduate to being absolute mega blockbusters at the movies? And I know Star Wars has other variables at play, okay, but that's not the direction that goes very often. So.
If it wasn't Star Wars, yes, but because it's Star Wars, it's
fine. You keep talking about Star Wars like it is an unbreakable egg, but Star Wars is shitty right now from a financial. Like it's not great. It's not a great property. It's not a prestige property. It's selling no merchandise.
That's the problem. So in so Rise of Skywalker was 2019. 2020 nothing, COVID, so that's fine. 21 they weren't working on anything. 22 nothing. 23 we released Dial of Destiny. It loses the second or third most money of the year in terms of releases, and you got nothing this year. And then you're losing money on your streaming service.
But at least there's been a gap, right? I mean, every 2 years was a little frequent. Sometimes it was less than that. Where you're doing it every year, a Star Wars movie.
Oh, it was every year.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because you had Solo and Rogue One and all these others.
Well, I think they're scared to release a Star Wars movie because there's so much criticism.
I think they're scared. I mean, they're obviously going to release.
They don't know what the audience want. They don't know what audiences want.
I think that they have made the wise decision and releasing Mando and Grogu first. That's their best bet. The Rey movie is a dangerous bet. That is not. I would not go all in.
Dangerous bet, but I don't know that this Mando Grogu thing is not a. That's not a cinematic. That's not a movie. That's not a movie scale.
Oh, but they can easily make it a movie scale property.
You can make anything. I mean, you're saying that there's an embedded that it already is that's your best bet for it, and that state does not exist right now.
It's their most successful Disney Plus show, so they at least have that data to go off of.
Well, sure, but that does not necessarily translate to box office. You can't just assume that this is going to be a successful movie at the same scale. The Skywalker trilogy lost money every time, or it not lost money, but the revenue was less each time. I would expect this to come in south of Rise of Skywalker. Okay, I mean, would you not? I mean, why would you think it would make more than Rise of Skywalker?
Well, I mean, because it's as much as you're saying it's not. I do think that the Baby Yoda thing is cultural zeitgeist. I think that has reached a point where people will go see that in a theater. I mean, they'll see Baby Yoda in a theater. The merchandise for that is pretty successful. A lot of people bought Baby Yoda.
Correct. That's it.
Just Baby Yoda.
That's it.
But that's enough to at least but I am saying if it doesn't make $1 billion worldwide, that's going to, depending on budget, fine, whatever. I still think they really need to hit that number, or they're not going to be willing to do much beyond that. Like Disney at some point has to say, we got to give up on this. We're losing so much money.
Then you've set them up for failure, because I don't think they can do that anymore. I mean, if that's the metric,
it's not as hard as you would think to hit worldwide. Worldwide, it's not.
But we're not just Star Wars does not exist in a vacuum. It exists now in a world where the box office is diminishing year over year. In
last year, it did well.
That's the trend right now. Okay, well, this isn't. So
let's wait until next year before we talk about the diminishing. That's a complex.
Yeah, we got to see how Deadpool does. Deadpool, I think, is going to hit $1 billion.
No, Deadpool's going to make money out the ass.
Single movie that changes the outlook for the whole for all of an industry, and that's not how it works.
It'll be the spark that lights the fire.
Garrison, there was $4 billion movies last year, or 3? There was Super Mario, Barbie.
Oppenheimer was almost, but it
was. They had a couple of big. Yeah, they had some things carry the weight last year. But how does that translate into this year? Is there a fervor now to go to the box office to see movies? No.
Well, no. Here's what happened. They had a strike that has crippled their industry in a really bad way. Yeah. They have negatively impacted their own industry due to not realizing the economics of what was happening with streaming, that streamers were going to cut back on content. So when studios agreed to this new deal, which was more lucrative for writers and actors, they decided to cut back even more on content because it's not worth it for them currently due to the current economics of Hollywood. And then at the same time, you're not advertising movies with press junkets, where actors who go on press junkets or go on talk shows, that still was a thing that people saw and they go, oh yeah, there's a movie coming out with that guy. I may want to check that out. What's that about?
You don't think there is an underlying current of less interest overall in going to the box office to see a movie, going to the theater to see a movie?
I think there is, because the studios have done that to themselves.
Okay, but they have done that to themselves.
But last year, if you keep Dune and you keep a few of those other big time releases that were supposed to be at the end of the year, you hit $10 billion last year for the first time since 2019. Yeah. They were going to have an excellent, and yes, I do think this year would have been a depression either way, even without the strikes. Don't get me wrong, but I think that they hurt themselves in a lot of different ways leading up to this year, and now everyone's going, oh my God, the thing that was easily predictable this year at the box office is happening.
Right, yeah.
But then when movies like Despicable Me 4 hit and do really well, which
it's going to do well. Inside Out 2 is going to do well.
Is going to do really well. Yep. Deadpool's going to do really well. Then people are going to go, oh, well, some things still do well. It's like, yes, the things that people want to see, they go out and see. Okay. And right now you don't have the slate that people really want to see right now because you've expanded due to the strikes. You've had to push things out.
And there are certain movies that you can look at that prove that people are still going.
Fall Guy was not supposed to be a summer release.
No.
It was supposed to be a March release around the time that it premiered at South by Southwest. And it's had decent legs. It's not going to do super well compared to its budget.
It has had good legs. There's still indicators that people are consistently going to the theater. I mean, with certain movies. Like If has had really good legs.
Family movies have good legs still. Horror movies still make money because they're cheap. I do think the theater industry is in trouble. But I see
and you just didn't say that I was wrong about it.
Well, no. I'm saying that there's a.
But we need to look by the end of the year to really,
and that it's not dead, but it is in trouble. I don't disagree with that. But I think the studios are not doing enough to reinstitute going back to the theater, which is ultimately a net loss for the studios. The studios will make less films doing that and much cheaper films on streaming at that point. And then people are just going to be watching TikTok all day. And I think that's a net negative for our society as a whole. But I don't really want to get into all the brain rot content.
Really, all that they need to do.
What you're saying is, I think, to get people back in the office, movies like a Rebel Moon or an Atlas, those should be released in the theater.
No, because it's garbage.
Atlas is terrible.
And that's why Zack Snyder's going back to WB and doing a 300 prequel show that he's going to be directing, because Rebel Moon was such a hit.
Yeah.
But also Atlas, as far as Netflix numbers are concerned, a lot of people are watching that crap. I mean, I don't know financially how that turns out for them, but
I mean, it doesn't mean it needs to drive subscribers. So the way to make it. Yeah, you've got to retain. I don't know how you calculate retention based on Atlas, right? But over time, when you'll start to lose prestige for your brand if you continue to take a dump on viewers' chests like they do. When it's like the whole thing is like a German Scheiser experience watching these Netflix movies that are so horrific.
But also, Netflix currently has Bridgerton. I mean, there's so many people watching. And a lot of their reality shows. A lot of people
movies. I mean movies, though. Like,
yeah, but I'm just saying that there's other things that are doing well for them where they can release an Atlas.
I do want to round out my point real quick. My point was that 2023 proved that you could still have a viable theatrical year.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But 24 just didn't have the slate in the first place, and B got worse when the strikes happened. And you had to space things out even more. It actually got helped a little bit by having Dune get pushed into March, but you know, otherwise
it would be very abysmal.
Yeah,
without Dune, it would be pretty. It'd be pretty bad.
Dune, even Dune. I mean, Dune is not a runaway blockbuster success.
No, but it's 700 million that you didn't have in last year, and 250 million domestic that you didn't have. 280 actually. So
I don't know. Well, the good news is we're going to be back next week to talk about Acolyte and solve other problems. Obviously, it's not just about Acolyte here. We're going to solve other problems also.
Yeah.
All you need to do is come to us, and we will solve your problems.
Are we doing House of the Dragon on this show?
Yeah, no.
We did it. Didn't we do it last year?
We tried. It was too complicated. We
did House of the Dragon last year. I know for a fact.
We did the first 4 episodes.
We did the first 4 episodes and did not continue it.
Really?
I don't know why exactly, other than maybe I don't know. I don't like to talk about shows that are actually being watched, Brett.
It was Mikey.
It's not my brand.
No, Mikey got nervous. He got nervous because there was like
you guys went all in on friggin' what's the Jackson? What's his name? The Aquaman guy.
That's because we had to have some.
You guys all in on Percy Jackson, but you don't watch no prestige TV. That's off limits. That's anything that people might talk about.
Percy Jackson was good.
Percy Jackson did like.
It doesn't matter whether it's good or not. Is it worthy of coverage?
Wait. Percy Jackson did like the best of any Disney Plus show this year.
Yeah, it did. Like a ton of people watched Percy Jackson. I'm just saying.
Is it worth discussion though? That's what I'm saying.
Of course it is.
Think have higher standards for the things that you spend hours and hours and hours talking about. That's all I'm saying.
I'm always wanting to talk about Star Wars though, so it doesn't matter. I mean,
that's fair. I do too.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's not great
Star Wars. I want it to be like, you want it to be
worthy. Talk about it. I mean, and same with Marvel. Even if it's not great, like I had more fun covering She-Hulk than anything. Secret Invasion almost broke me, but
I was about to say Secret Invasion was miserable.
Yeah, that was miserable. But She-Hulk was a lot of fun to talk about because it was just so bad. But it was just.
Will you cover Ironheart on Extra? I hope so.
We are going to cover every look. We're
Riri Williams.
Marvel, and Star Wars. And if Yellowstone ever comes out again, we'll cover Yellowstone also.
And House of the Dragon, right?
No,
we're not doing House of the Dragon. Filming, didn't it?
What now?
1923 just started filming again, didn't it?
They say that. That's the problem with. And 4/6 is supposed to come out too. That's still apparently a show. I didn't know that was still a show, but I don't know. I don't know if anything will ever come out. Here's the deal. Rhett and Earl are both kind of off the grid, but you can occasionally catch both of them every once in a while in the Deucecast, which is our Discord server that we have for the podcast that releases every Wednesday, and our show here on YouTube. Garrison, where can people find you on the internet?
You could find me at grifen3 on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me at grifen, GRYFUN, on Letterboxd. You can go over there or on Twitter and debate me about the box office if you want. I will have hours and hours of
Garrison loves
time
that.
I will sometimes butt into conversations just to start going in about
exactly.
Yeah. So
I'm also on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, at the Michael Nip. But most of my time is spent in the Deucecast. If you're a subscriber, and you can prove to me that you're a subscriber, then sure, email us at thedeucecast@gmail.com, and I'll send you a link to the Discord.
What kind of proof do you require?
What?
What kind of proof do you require?
I don't know. Just make sure you're not a Russian bot. I don't know. But if you're watching this later, tell us how you think, what you thought of Acolyte in the comments.
Did we talk?
Are
about
those people
Acolyte?
still around?
Tell us what you thought about Acolyte. Tell us about what you think about any of our conversation that we had tonight. We had a wide ranging conversation about box office, about Star Wars viability as a movie franchise,
about whether or not we should be wasting our life covering things.
Yeah, it should be we wasting life watching any television. Should we? I mean, maybe we shouldn't. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
only engage in intellectually stimulating pursuits. That's all. No,
maybe that's what we should be doing. This is the least intellectually
stimulating. Mind candy's fun.
It is. I personally need it. Otherwise, there's no point in anything.
Yeah.
So, well, geez, Rhett. What are you, Jedi Master Tobin?
I need explanation. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So appreciate everybody watching. We will be back next week, next Wednesday, the day after. We're gonna keep it going with this. Appreciate everybody that was hanging out in the chat. Andy, Nick was in there. Brian, of course, and it was great. It really makes it fun for us when you guys hang out in the chat like that. So please do come back next week. I promise we'll try and maybe stay on task a little bit more and talk. But the episode's probably only going to be 22 minutes long, so we'll see how much we can talk about with that. So hope everybody has a great night.